We've got one of those stupid smart thermostats that I don't like personally because sometimes I can't work it. And I usually set it like to like 72 because sometimes she'll put it to like 68 or 69 and I'm like cold. And I'll like go in the living room and she's like got a blanket on and a sweatshirt on. And I'm like slowly turning into my father. I'm like, why are we trying to make ourselves cold to warm ourselves up?
Because that's way more comfortable.
Dumb.
You get to snug up and then be all cozy.
No, I'm like, how about we park this bench at 72? And, cause that's way cooler than, like 85 outside.
Yeah. You know what's also cooler than 85? 68.
God, it's so cold. So cold.
I had to take a blanket off last night because I was sweating.
What else did you take off?
That's it. That's all I had. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a new episode of Born2BNerd Podcast. My name is Lance.
My name's Ethan.
And today we're going to have a casual conversation about the inspiration that we get from anything, whether it be media, music, art. I've been thinking a lot about it recently, and I thought we could have a nice little discussion about it. Talk about what's been inspiring us, what kind of influences our decision making, things like that.
Yeah, I think it'll be a nice little introspective conversation that we I don't know. We kind of like talk about it every now and then, like when we're just chilling in Discord or something. But like, to actually dive into it.
Yeah.
Would be cool.
Well, so, I know you don't use TikTok, but I have TikTok and I watch it when I'm at work a lot, on break or whatever, to try to kill some time. Yeah. And it can be, not good sometimes, but it's also can be amazing sometimes. And you get a lot of, if you're a creative, or even if it's not necessarily creative, but I'm taking the creative lane right now, there's so much inspiration on there. And I follow all these creators and artists, and I see things all the time that just make me want to make something or create something or whatever. And I've been thinking about doing it for a long time, but I just got it in the mail, Paper-like screen protector for my iPad. So it like makes your iPad have the texture of paper, so that whenever you're drawing on it, it adds a little bit. It adds a little bit more friction to your Apple Pen. Yeah. So because this glass, your Apple Pen just slides across it. Yeah. And it's really hard to have like nice, like straight lines or nice, like fluid curves. It gets very, unless you add I don't like adding the, I forget what it's called, stabilize or whatever, where like auto uses like AI to adjust your like lines and curves to make them more straight or more even or whatever. It just feels like you lose some control. So I got the paper screen protector to kind of bring the power back to me, so that I can get back into drawing, because I've been wanting to get back into drawing, and I just didn't know how to like touch an iPad and feel like that's the way to do it, because you can use any color, you can use any like pen style or whatever. It just gives you so many options. But I felt like whenever I was drawing, I would just lose my inspiration or lose my motivation so quickly, because I just couldn't get what was in here on there, Yeah. And so I'm going to try this paper-like, and see if that kind of helps me feel like I'm drawing on a notebook again, But I was watching TikToks, and I found this. I was telling you about it yesterday. This woman who was kind of gassing up her husband for being
like the master crazy hobbyist.
Yeah, just like not just like a hobbyist like me,
but like just like succeeding in everything.
Kind of like a savant, and but watching someone at like a master level like that, I feel is so inspiring to me, because I'm like, even if I can just get like a hint of that, I'll feel so accomplished, you know? And then I don't know why some people might be demoralized by watching someone be a master of something with such little effort. But for me, it's inspiring, because I don't need to be a master. I just love watching or seeing works of art like that done by just a person, you know?
Yeah. Do you like seeing the process too, or not?
Oh yeah,
the process and the progress. Like, not. I'm a really big fan of, like, you know, I do the YouTubes, and I've noticed that, like, I'm not necessarily there for the end. Like, I'll watch to the end, and I like seeing the final result, but I'm much more invested in the process and the progression along the way of something being created than I get fulfillment of, like, the end result. Like, the end result is going to be the end result no matter what. But it's like, what happens in the middle of it is like what really, for me, is like what's rewarding about those kind of like videos.
Yeah.
It's like seeing the process explored.
And I think what it is for me, and it might be the same for you, seeing someone's end product. Let's say it's a drawing, and it's like let's say it's like an anime character or something, and it's just perfect. Just seeing that, you're like, I can never do that. Like, I'll never get there. But I feel like for me, watching the process, I'm like, oh, like whenever they're doing, like, let's say they're doing
they
line
restarted
art.
like 5 times.
Yeah.
Like, before they even got the right idea of what they were going to do. Yeah.
And like, just watching someone do like some line art or something, I'm like, I can do that. And then they fill it in with, I said feel. Like, my Southern's coming out. Watching them fill it in with color, you're like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Watching them add some shading, you're like, oh, I can do that. And then all of a sudden you're at the end product, you know? And I think watching the process, for someone who, I think, you know, I understand the concept of different type of any type of hobby, even if it's something that I'm not necessarily familiar with, I feel like I can always kind of understand the process along the way to a point where I feel like I could do it, or I could, you know, kind of work on it in some capacity. Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely the same way.
Yeah. I think with a lot of, like, endeavors, whether it is like just pure art, or like whether I'm like trying to write a song, or if I'm trying to make a video, or like whatever it is, like work on my car or whatever. Like, seeing that it doesn't have to go from like 20% done to 100% complete, that there's all these little bitty increments along the way to 100% completion. For me, like, I kind of need that because otherwise I psych myself out completely. Like, I'll see like if I'm trying to do a project on my car, and I'm like, that looks like quite the undertaking. I don't feel comfortable tearing apart my front lip to get to my inner cool. You know, I just don't feel comfortable doing that. And then you like see like, oh, you just break it down step by step by step, and you do it all in reverse to get back or whatever. You know what I mean? That, to me, seeing that kind of breakdown, and then also seeing people fail again, like for my confidence, it's like, okay, like, even this guy who necessarily isn't even like a master mechanic or is a professional mechanic, but is someone who wrenches all the time, even they are having problems with its installation. It's okay to have problems with it. It's all right to fuck it up a little bit and then come back to it.
That's one thing that I struggle with personally, is allowing myself, like, I typically, and you probably know this about me, and everyone else knows this about me, is that I talk myself out of doing things so frequently because I'm afraid of failing. When in reality, all I have to do is allow myself the permission to fail, you know? And I know that's the case. I know anyone can like make mistakes, and even like people who are masters in their craft make mistakes and have failures, and they, you know, still do it. And I know that if I do take action, that I'll probably have more successes than failures. I do. It is something that I also am trying to work on, with allowing myself to give myself permission to work on something with the idea that it could potentially fail, you know, in the end. Mm-hmm. So that's a fair point.
Yeah. I mean, I think we definitely talked about it before, but like, I definitely, like I struggle with a lot of times, like, what do you call it? Decision paralysis or choice paralysis, whatever it is. Whenever I've got like, I could do this, or I could do that, or I could go about it this way. Or what if I don't, and I should have done it this way? And dude, I even see myself doing it at work sometimes. I'm like, oh, I should run this cable like that. But if I do that, like, well, what if we do wild this wall, or da 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 da, you know? Yeah. And it's like, in the time that I'm sitting there wrestling with it over in my head, it could already be done, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I do that with everything though.
Yeah.
I've tried to be better, you know, at sometimes, like, we do have a little bit of difference between us, and like what you're talking about, like stopping ourselves from enjoying something because we're worried about whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like we talk about that with like going to, whether it's like going to a league night by ourselves, or whether it's whatever. I have this weird divide in my brain that I try to access, or that I try to utilize. And when I do, it helps me 100% of the time. It's like, if I'm like worried about going to, I don't know. So if I'm like worried about going to league night, for an example, like by myself, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what's the worst that's going to happen if I go? Like, legitimately, like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Okay, I go and I lose every single game. Okay.
Yeah.
Then that's the worst that's going to happen. Like, and then I think about it, I was like, oh, well, that's not actually bad at all. Like, that's super manageable. And so you go, and then even if you do lose every game, you still have a bunch of fun.
Yeah.
You know, and I try to utilize that like mindset in so much of what I do, and it helps me get over that hurdle, because I still have that shit like in the back of my mind sometimes, where it's like I get invited to something and I'm like, do they really want me to go? Mm-hmm. Like, did they really want me to be there, or is it like a pity invite? You know, are they just going to be like talking shit about me before I even get there? Like, that stupid shit is in the back of my lizard brain, and it's like I try to do that to myself a lot, where I'm just like, dude, if you're second guessing like going or do something, just go.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, what's the worst that's going to happen if you go? Okay, like, you go to the social interaction, right? And you go and you're like, okay, this isn't my vibe. You can leave.
Yeah.
Whenever you want, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm going to gas somebody up real quick, but it kind of clicked for me, kind of using video games a little bit as an example. Joey, I think, is a great example of that concept, because I feel like that's how he's been able to do so much, and how he's like, whenever we play video games together, I notice like how skilled he is, but yet how willing he is to like be reckless, you know?
Yeah.
So like Baldur's Gate 3 is kind of something that he helped me with, and I've since been applying that to other parts of my life. And it's kind of funny. The first time we tried to play Baldur's Gate 3 together as a group, I had never played a game like that before, and I wanted to progress the best I could, right? And so we were trying to progress the story, and I kept having to stop and like read everything and like think about what skill I wanted to level up, or what item I wanted to buy, or whatever. And if I was in a dialogue, I wanted to make the right
what's the best
dialogue choice.
Yeah.
And he was like, just pick something. Like, and whatever you choose with, just roll with it. Like, if it's the wrong one, then just roll with that one, you know? Yeah. Like, make the best of that. And it took me a while to to understand how to apply that mindset, because that's scary. It's so scary, especially if that's not a muscle that you've exercised before.
Yeah.
And so I remember starting my own playthrough, my solo, and I tried that, I was like, me and you had a conversation on podcast before about it. I think when we did our fall feels, I think we talked about Baldur's Gate, and I talked about how I was letting my character have his story. And if you made a mistake, that's part of his story, Like it's just like with humans in real life, like you're not going to pick the best dialogue option every time. Sometimes you're going to say something and be like, that's not exactly what I meant.
Right.
Or it's just going to come out wrong, or the person's not going to receive it the way you intended or whatever. That's just how life is. And making choices with the understanding that you can't control every aspect of everything is how you kind of navigate through things with a little bit more freedom. Mm-hmm. And so to gas him up, he's the one who kind of helped me understand that concept. And it started with Baldur's Gate, but I've since tried to I'm slowly trying to integrate it into other parts. So, I appreciate Joey opening my eyes to that a little bit more. And
Joey's really good at trying to just speed run things. Don't worry about it. It'll work itself out. Don't worry about it.
I swear I wish I could feel as confident in the freedom that he displays sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about when we're talking about the art of inspiration is how something simple like that can flip a switch, mm-hmm. and seeing someone else do something that makes it look so simple can make empower you to make a choice yourself or make a change in yourself. I think that's really cool. I got this paper, and I was telling you, I was watching this guy do all these things, and watching this person be so creative, it made me think on how I can apply my own, arts or my own, creativity. And I think, are you still working on your comic?
No, that kind of fell through. Unfortunately, me and the guy that I was working on it,
mm-hmm.
In the ether, still working on it. But
are you still writing?
Not actively. No.
Yeah,
I just still need to finish it.
Yeah, you have a lot to it though, right? You've written a lot. So
yeah, originally written as a teleplay, as a script. It was 11 of the 13 episodes were written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about you, and I was also thinking about, I don't think you've ever read it, but I when I was in college, wrote a short story. It was a screenplay I wrote in my screenplay writing class that I took. And I loved it. I wrote it all in one night from listening to a song. I listened to a song. I wonder if I could find it. It's crazy. The way an inspiration can web and then mm-hmm. reach a point that it has no relation to. Mm-hmm. It was a song by the band Copeland. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I could find the song right now. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. But it was a song by Copeland, and it was just an acoustic song or something like that. Very soft, very soothing. And I remember I was watching a video that was it was old YouTube, and it was a video that was almost like a music video or a fan-made trailer for The Last Samurai. And I was listening to that song while watching that video, but the video was muted. I was just had it on because I love that movie. Mm-hmm. And the song and the video went so well together. it gave me this like fairy tale romance kind of vibe. And the project that we were working on was supposed to take a fairy tale and use that as inspiration to write a independent, fresh story, but like kind of connected to like the folklore or whatever of a fairy tale. And it was, I remember watching that video, listening to that song and hearing that and thinking of like this fairy tale romance kind of mindset. And everything just clicked, you know? And in one night I had this huge inspiration of this story, and I wrote it. I literally, oh my gosh, I literally couldn't put down my pen. I was writing for hours, and I wrote the whole thing in one night, and I passed out when I was done. I was just so like it was like poured from me, you know? And then I took it to class, and she went through everyone's project. You know, she read them, and then she presented her thoughts in class, and she went one by one each student. And I was like the last person that she got to. And everyone, like, it was these, you know, these college kids, these bros that are trying to get into the industry, you know? And I remember every time she called a new person, she was like, "Were you high when you wrote this? This is wild," you know? And then she got to me and she was like, I was so nervous because she had been roasting everyone.
Yeah.
And she got to me and she was like, "This was so good." I was like, "Oh," you know? And she called me after class and she was like, "You need to do something with this. Like, this is genuinely really good." And I remember she kept up with me after I, you know, finished that course, to check in, you know, and she was awesome. I think her name was Lucinda. She was, you could easily find her. I think she won an Golden Globe in the 90s for a documentary she did. And then after that, she did movie trailers. So she did I remember she did the movie trailer for X-Men 2, I think. And, you know, just a little bit of like lore from her. But anyways, I have been holding on to that story forever, trying to figure something out with it, you know? And I remember when I was working with those film guys in Wilmington, when I was in school, this guy I was working with wanted to turn it. I filmed that horror movie with him, Mason Borough Massacre, I think it was called, that little independent short or whatever. I don't even know if it went anywhere, but he wanted to film my screenplay. I let him read it and he was like, "We should film it," you know? And then that never happened. And then, you know, I've just been holding on to it, thinking of what to do. And I'm watching these TikToks and trying to get back into drawing. I was like, why don't I just draw my own graphic novel for it?
Yeah.
You know, it's short. It's, you know, I think maybe 15 pages. So I could probably illustrate like a little graphic novel for it and then do it myself, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I got, this paper and,
that's the muse.
It all started with a song and then watching like a fan made tribute to The Last Samurai. But it's just crazy, man. I was thinking like the same thing with, you know, I've talked to you about your story too. It's just like, you have this project that have you ever talked about where your inspiration for it came from?
You're talking about my series, right? Still, on here, I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think you've talked to me about like the specific thing that like launched your idea, right? Where like it came from. I don't know if you want to spoil the story or like talk about the specific story while you're still working on it, but just the inspiration.
The inspiration was me being like 23 and like falling in love with motorcycles, and being surrounded basically like my whole life, like being in North Carolina, liking motorcycles, but because I'm in North Carolina, like all that you see around there are Harleys and cruiser like motorcycles. And I remember like going to work up in Winston-Salem at Baptist at the hospital that I worked at, I met this guy named Michael who rode a BMW, and I've never seen a BMW motorcycle before. And it was it wasn't cafe'd out or anything, but it was just so different. It was kind of set up touring spec, but without the huge bearings on it. So it had this big boxer engine coming out the sides of it, and like the pinstripe on the sides of the tank. And I mean, it was like a K100 or something. And it was just so sick. And I remember talking to him about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like if you like this, like you probably like Triumphs or something like that." And I was like, "What the fuck is a Triumph? I've never even heard of a Triumph."
Mm-hmm.
And I started deep dive into like Triumphs and like the cafe racer scene of like the 60s. And there was just literally this whole other world of motorcycles that I'd never even known about because of like where I grew up. And at the same time, I was also like, I don't know, me and my mom were kind of having this like, I don't know, our relationship was like turning from like me being her kid to also me being like an adult, and like having like real adult conversations, with her. And I just realized like how much it was like one of those things where like I realized how much I love my mom and how much I respected her, and all the stuff that she had done for me, and so that's kind of where it was started from, was like this, in a way, it starts off as a love letter to my mom, basically, and like a newfound love for the cafe racer boom of the 1950s and 60s in London.
Did the whole story click at once, or did you start with like a concept and then you started it and then more started clicking as you went along?
It definitely built. I remember like I wrote it with the idea of like the first episode was in my head. Like I knew how I wanted the first episode to end immediately. And then from there, I think it's one of those things, like if you've written a story, like you kind of get it. Like as you introduce characters, pieces start to fall into place like very naturally. And you're like, oh, this is where that can go. And that happens because this guy comes in with this group of people. And, it just kind of naturally feeds it. The story propels itself forward. And somewhere early on, I knew how the first season of it ended, or if I do a graphic novel as opposed to like an animated series, how the first major block of it ends.
Yeah, I
remember like thinking back to a movie and like thinking of like this moment that happens in this particular movie and being like, I want that kind of impact, and not knowing how to get there or like where it was going to go. But I was like, I knew that like that was the impact that I wanted at the end of this season. And then when I started writing it and like storyboarding it out, because the way I have it written now, like the first 11 episodes they're typed up, their dialogue, all of it, it's in there. And then I've got 2 more episodes to go. But before I even started typing anything, I hand wrote every episode and like the characters as they come in, some of the major dialogue that happens in the episode, and like what happens within each individual episode. All that's been written out like for years at this point,
Yeah.
And I remember like getting to the point where I wrote out like the end and being like, God, I want to see it, because I wrote it. That was another thing that like one of the reasons that I wrote it was because I had never seen it. And I was like, initially I wanted to be an anime series, right? And I was like, me as a fan of anime and a fan of motorcycles, I was like, I want to watch an anime about motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to go watch it, and I was like, okay, the same like 3 kept on popping up. Like you had like, it's like 2015, 2014, somewhere in there. Like, of course, Akira pops up. You had Baku. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was called Bakuwan or something. It was this like one season of like this girl, girl riders club, motorcycle riders club. It's basic. If I remember it right, it's kind of ecchi-esque. It's very silly, not a lot of depth to it at all. Or like it would be like Angel Cop or something, just because it has motorcycles in it. But there was nothing as far as the story that I wanted to tell. It didn't exist. And so I was like, well, fuck it. I'll make it. And I think that's what a lot of people do, is like they find something they want to consume and they want to see or they want to read about, and it doesn't exist. So they're like, fuck it. I'll do it myself, you know? And that's the mentality that it starts with. And then the story just starts unfolding before their very eyes, or under their hand or whatever. But that's kind of how it was with me. Mm-hmm. I'm sure everybody's process is kind of different, but
yeah, man, that stuff's interesting and it's powerful stuff, especially like for a creative.
Yeah, I think like the main thing is like what you're talking about. It's like when the muse hits, dude, like nothing else matters. Mm-hmm. Like just sit, like you're talking about like the night where you wrote that story, like you just stayed up all night because you just had to get it out.
Yeah,
dude, when that, to anybody listening to this, like when that feeling grabs you, like just go,
right,
just go with it. Yeah. Because it, you know what? And you might wake up the next morning and you're like, man, this is
trash.
This is hot garbage.
Yeah.
But even if it is hot garbage, there's probably something in that steaming pile of shit that is what you were trying to get out. Mm-hmm. And you'll probably be able to salvage it and be like, oh, this is what I was trying to say. This is what I was trying to convey. Whenever you get that feeling and I think I've recognized that like as I've gotten older, those like moments, like they come less and less, like throughout your life as you get older and older, right? So when you get those moments, like, dude, you got to chase them. Like you just got to go with them. Yeah. Like wherever it takes you, you just got to go with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to capitalize on that feeling currently, trying to get back into that, because I get these inspirations all the time and then I talk myself out of them, like what we've been talking about, that fear, and that's why, I want to get back into drawing. I want to get back into illustration. I did that VTuber model for Joey. Mm-hmm. That was the first thing I had drawn since I was in high school. Like apart from like doodling in college, and I helped my buddy Beeve whenever he was working on a video game for his coding class. I helped draw some illustrations for him and I loved them. They were so good. We did, it was a video game, kind of like a text-based like dungeon crawler kind of thing, where it was like a spinoff of Indiana Jones. And we called him Wisconsin Johnson, which is so good. It's so good. And I did some illustrations for like specific events that you would reach if you hit certain decisions, in this video game that he was making.
Yeah.
But that was the last time I did something like that. And then I did this, Joey was talking about getting into the VTuber thing, and I love that idea. And I was wanting to kind of like consider the same thing for myself, and I started that VTuber model with zero understanding of how to do it. And I hadn't really drawn anything like high level anime inspired, where I was actually trying to create this anime style character for him. And I had to start from scratch, with almost no inspiration apart from my own desire to do something like that,
Right. Yeah.
And so it took me a very long time to draw that and finished product. I think I worked on it for 6 months for him, just completely voluntary, because I wanted to do it. I wanted to get better at it. I wanted to learn, and I wanted to be someone, like I've always wanted to be able to draw those, like that anime style character.
Yeah.
And so I just like worked on it for like 6 months, drawing every day, And then since then I haven't touched it. and I got this screen protector as like a commitment. It's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get back into it. And, so I'm trying, man. I'm trying to like get that inspiration and like push it. And because I watched this video, I don't know if you've heard the same concept, but I've listened to this therapist on TikTok talk about people like me. Mm-hmm. We tend to wait on inspiration to do something. And that's not necessarily where art or creativity or just productivity comes from.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to start walking. Mm-hmm. You know, you just have to get up and start moving and put pen to paper, you know, put your hand on the mouse, put your hands on the guitar, whatever it is, and just start doing something, and then let that inspiration hit when it hits. So although I do love the concept of that spark that you get from inspiration, I also understand that I need to kind of just start walking and start doing something so that when that inspiration does hit, I'm already on my feet, you know?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's actually, just in terms of writing, I mean, it's with anything, I guess, but like in terms of writing, that's kind of a different method, you know, for different people, but it's kind of a hot topic between creatives. It's like, which is the better method? What's going to yield you the most results, right? Some people think that you should every day, if you're trying to write every day, you write every single day. Because at the end of the day, even if what you're putting out or what you're getting down isn't what you want, you're still putting in reps, which is only going to make you better, right? As opposed to
getting your 10,000 hours kind of thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Kaizen, right?
Yeah.
It's every day. It's step by step by step by step. A little bit better each day. As opposed to the method of like, I feel stagnant. Like it doesn't matter what I put out today because I'm wasting my own energy and my own time when I could be getting inspiration to put forth a better product out there, right? You know, like today I don't feel it. I don't feel the muse, so I'm not even going to try because there's nothing to put down. So I'm not even going to try. I don't know. I think I definitely, for me, it works better for me if I am just like putting in the reps. Because I like routine and, I find that if I set deadlines and if I set goals every day, you know, from whatever, let's just say if I get home at 6 every day from like 7:30 to 8:30, I'm going to write. Like if I set that deadline and that goal for myself, even if I'm putting down something that doesn't really amount to what I want it to, in the end, it's still going to make me a better writer, you know?
Yeah.
But it's more than just noodling, I think, too. It's more than just doodling, like with your like drawing, right? It's got to be like intent, right? So like that's one of the reasons that I've been stagnant in like guitar playing for so long. It's because I could sit here and noodle all fucking night, but I'm not working towards anything. I'm just like, and then lo and behold, I'll come back right to the same tune that I've been playing for the past year and a half. You know, I'll just play this, like 5 times. This is fun. And then, you know, it's just the same cycle. It's the same cycle, but I'm not really improving because I'm not working towards anything.
Yeah. I will say though, that I reached that same point. I used to practice guitar every night routinely. I used to spend about an hour a night practicing guitar. And I remember the night I quit, I was kind of like depressed about, you know, my lack of success in the acting world. And I'm sitting here practicing guitar. And I remember I was kind of reaching that point where I was just kind of playing the same stuff every night, you know, mainly just it was almost like I was just warming up every night and then going to bed.
Yeah.
But I remember I was doing that and I said to myself, I was like, what am I practicing for?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what am I trying? I have no dream of being a musician. I was just doing this because I like guitar, you know, and I thought it would be cool to know how to play.
Mm-hmm.
And then I quit. And I'll tell you, I regret it. I regret quitting. It was a really strong creative outlet for, you know, whenever I had this itch in my brain to do something creative, I could just pick up the guitar and just play for a minute, you know? Maybe I would sing with it or whatever, but I knew how to do it. And so whenever I had that itch and I didn't have something that I wanted to do specifically, I could pick up the guitar, play some, and then I could, you know, it would just release that energy.
Yeah.
And now I don't have that because I put it down because I didn't feel like there was any progress being made. Yeah. Or a point. And I think that's the same for you, is like, you've been working on it for so long, you put in the hours, even when there's time that you feel like you're not making progress or you're not doing anything substantially creative, you're still putting that energy into something. And I think that's a really powerful thing. And I think that's something that no one should let go of, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it's the reason that I haven't finished it is literally just because of me getting sidetracked with whatever, or just literally just being lazy and not just committing to, again, like sticking to a schedule and abiding by that until it's done. Mm-hmm. But, you know, with the arts, there's also this human emotion to it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that dictates how you can be the most strict and dedicated person, but in the end, like, if your heart's not in something, your heart's not in something.
And I think that's the thing, is people don't understand that art is probably the closest thing to your heart that you have within yourself, you know, apart from like, you know, love or whatever. But I mean, as far as like what you do with your own independence, I don't know of anything else as close to like how you're feeling there is than being artistic, you know, being creative as something like not necessarily artistic, but creative, you know, whether it be
creating something,
whether it be working in mechanics or working in animation or music or architecture or anything. It's that creative energy that I think you do have to have, that like heart, that reaction in your heart, the motivation in your heart to do it, for sure.
I will say, like, for me lately as in like the past couple years, like rediscovering my love for music has, I mean, it's kind of changed a lot. Like, I didn't think I'd ever play live again. I did in high school, and it was so, I don't know what it was back then, man. Maybe it was just like me being a teenager and the hormones and whatever. But it was a fun experience once I did it. But like leading up to it was so nerve-wracking. Like, I would dry heave or vomit before every show, man. Like, I'm not fucking with you. I remember me and my buddy Joe played, we were in this band called Spinning Jenny, and I remember we played what was it? It was like a ceremony for school. It was some kind of like, it wasn't a dance, but it was something for school. And we got to play a couple of songs like in front of the school one time. And I remember being in this, like, it was like this little, what do you call them? Not convention hall, like a little reception hall type thing. And I remember being in this bathroom that was like from the 70s, you know, this thing had never been changed, and just like retching in the fucking bathroom trying to get something up, anything up, but I couldn't because my nerves were just so bad. And so like, and then like playing at like Sound Vent and stuff, even then, like, that was never like a pleasurable experience, even that. to like later in life, you know, a couple years ago, like linking up with Tom and like forming the Feral Tones. And like, I don't know, like I remember the first night that we played, I felt that like he came like, cause I disappeared from him before we went to go play, and he came and found me. He was like, "How you doing?" And I was like, "I think I might shit my pants, dude. I don't feel good at all." I was like, "This feeling that I'm feeling right now is why I quit playing live." And then I don't know what happened, dude. Like we got up there and we were kind of shit, but it was so fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it just re-sparked all the right things that were there when I was a kid without having all of like the insecurities that I had as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, also we were playing in Smith's, so like that room can be very welcoming if you play it right. And we played it so much that like it felt like home base, you know. We felt like we couldn't fail up there, even if we did when we did fall on our face.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. It also like it gave us. I feel like I've heard that like mentally and emotionally, like you kind of always see yourself at a certain age. Like no matter how far you age, you kind of always see yourself as a certain age, right?
Yeah, that's been hitting me pretty hard these last couple of weeks.
We've been talking about it. But like I think that's, you know, I always feel like I'm in that like perpetual state of like, I don't know, 16 to 19 in a way, where I'm just like trying to figure shit out emotionally. And for me, like back then, the best way for me to get my emotions out was like to just pour it into some kind of music. And so like here lately, like, I mean, I'll forever the sad boy. I'm always writing sad boy shit. But like whenever I do, dude, putting that shit in a song and like, and writing it and just getting it out and playing it. And you're like, oh, okay. And not only does it serve as an outlet to get it out, but then it also serves as a reference point for you to see like, oh, this is how I felt in this particular like moment in time.
Yeah.
And you can explore it to whatever extent you want to. Like you can either put it away and be like, I don't need to feel that. You know, like I've written songs about like my grandfather, and like I don't need to feel that all the time, but I know they're there and I've written them. Or like, you know, songs about being broken up with or whatever. Yeah. Like you don't need to feel that all the time, but you know that they're there and that you made them, and that's where you're capable of going, the good and the bad, whether you're hyped the fuck up or whether you're down here. Like, you know where you're capable of being.
Right.
And the fact that you created that and that you're able to create that, like, that's what's fucking awesome about the arts.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's crazy, because I was going to bring up something similar, is where, you know, being in therapy, one thing that is always recommended is journaling, you know, and I tried journaling and I hated it. I couldn't put my thoughts on like written out the way like I'm just not always the best at communicating, even when it's to myself, you know? And I hated it. I hate journaling. I have about 15 empty journals from like gifts, things that I've bought for myself to try to influence my own, you know. And then I remember one day I was such in my feels and I was having such a hard time mentally. And I was like, I know that my therapist would say to journal, to put my thoughts on paper, but I can't. I hate it. I hate journaling. I hate having to like wait for the words to come to like express my feelings, whenever my feelings aren't necessarily words, they're feelings. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to draw. I'm just going to draw my feelings instead. And I remember getting out my, my Procreate on my iPad and just like painting on Procreate. And it was the same way, where it's like, it was so much easier, and it was so like expressive. And I put those feelings literally on the canvas, so to speak. And then I was able to let it go. I was like, oh, that's so much better than journaling, you know? And so it's the same way for me, just on a different concept. It's like those feelings, it's so meaningful and like powerful to be able to release it onto an art, you know, and use your own feelings as the inspiration to get the art out, you know, the creative outlet.
Right.
And so that's what I'm trying to ride that wave as well. Like you are with the music. Is ever since then, that's kind of what sparked my own desire to get back into drawing, to get back into illustration or painting or whatever it is that I end up kind of falling into with this, just putting my hand back on a pencil, you know?
Yeah.
And whether it be electronic or not, but, cause that was my outlet, you know, for so long. Mm-hmm. And I was good, man. When I was a kid, holy hell. I look back on my art from a kid. I'm like, how was I so good, so young, and didn't stick with it? Yeah. I could have. I was, you know, 10 years old drawing like comic accurate Magneto and, you know, manga accurate Naruto, like very young. And I don't know what it was that persuaded me to let it go or to think that it wasn't, you know, what I wanted to do anymore. But I think whenever I had that night of, because I was around the same time that I started working on that VTuber model for Joey, just like getting back into it, downloading Procreate and starting to doodle again, that I realized that I was like, I should try to get back into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I think that, having some kind of creative outlet in your life in whatever perspective that it is super important to like the human experience. I mean, whether it's like either just like doing a podcast like this.
Yeah.
Like I remember during the strike, that was one of the reasons that I needed it and I wanted to do it when we started this, was because like I felt like I needed to feel like I was putting something into the universe. Like I was contributing to this collected human experience in some way, you know? And so by doing this little podcast, like that was my way at that moment in time of doing it. And it still is, like, you know what I mean? Like just doing it like we're doing today. Like we didn't really have a topic that we were really going to go with today until today. Mm-hmm. And we were like, let's just run with it and do like a more free form kind of, you know, podcast and see how it goes. And I mean, it's been really fun. It's just a beautiful discussion. You know what I mean? Yeah. It is on topic with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But like whether it's this or whether it's like my other YouTube channel or like whatever it is, like creating something, even to the point where it's like, regardless of how well it's received, how well it does, like as far as numbers, whether that's views or whether that's monetary implications or whatever it is, just putting something out there and creating something is part of like what we need as human beings.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's even more true when life is feeling kind of stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
God, yeah. That's exactly what I'm talking about, yeah.
I think whenever I remember a point in life, especially in adulthood, where I've been the most creative and had the most inspiration was when things were going the worst for me, in so to speak. Mm-hmm. I remember whenever I got into that car accident and found out that this is a crazy story for, I don't know if you remember this story, but I got into a car accident. I hit a deer in the middle of the night on a bridge.
Oh, this was like right after you got your car?
It was shortly after I got my car. Yeah. Yeah. I was maybe like 6 months later.
Yeah.
I was moving to Virginia. I decided that I was going to quit my job and go as hard as I could into the acting career. I was just gonna sacrifice everything because I had been inspired by these lectures that said, you know, if you really want something, you have to be willing to sacrifice like in pursuit of it. And I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to sacrifice everything. And my nephew was about to be born, or had just been born, and I hadn't spent much time with him. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go just move to Virginia for a short period of time, just spend a little bit of time with my new nephew. And then I'm going to hit the ground running. And literally bringing the trailer, I had the trailer with my stuff, took it to Virginia, and then we were bringing the trailer back to North Carolina, hit the deer on the bridge. Middle of the night, shouldn't have been there, couldn't see it. There was, hardly any lights on the road. And wrecked my car, called my insurance, and they were like, yeah, something happened with your insurance and it lapsed a month ago, so you don't have insurance. And so I lost my car, and it took me, I think, a year to be able to, I had to get a job on a roofing company for a summer to make, that was the summer that I met you.
Yeah.
Or the year that I met you, because I had to move back home with my parents because I lost everything. I lost all my money. I ended up spending probably around 10 grand to get my car fixed.
Yeah.
And not just to get my car fixed, but to pay for rent that I had to pay for while I was, working on stuff. It was a disaster. And I was so depressed. And I was working on this roofing company. I was miserable. And for some reason, because I wasn't like trained in roofing, I would just help them clean up and stuff. I was like, how old was I? 23 maybe?
Yeah.
Something like that. Super young. I just had my earphones in, just listening to music or podcasts or whatever, and just cleaning up these construction sites basically. And that was where all this inspiration came from, these screenplays that I started writing. I decided to take my life into my own hands because I felt so punished by the universe, I felt like I was being controlled by the universe and punished for nothing. And I was like, you know what? I'm in charge of my life. That's when, what's his name? Invited me to be in his play. And, that's where we met. And I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do a play, even though I'm exhausted from work. I was like, I'm going to wake up at 7, work on this job site in 105-degree weather. And then I'm going to leave and drive to Wilmington for night practice. Yeah. And I did. And honestly, I took control, and it was during that time where I experienced a lot of inspiration with being creative and was able to release so much creative energy that, I hadn't had in a while.
Yeah.
So I do think it is whenever you're kind of going through stuff or life feels like it's in its most dullest period that, that's where you need to release it. Yeah.
Yeah. It forces you to have to find that kind of expression.
Mm-hmm. Because that's what human beings are, we're way more creative than I think people understand, especially people that have let go of that part of themselves,
Yeah, I know, dude. I say it all the time. It's like growing up is giving up. And I fucking stand by that statement.
Yeah. That's where Born to be Nerd came from, is this idea that it's not just about loving cartoons or Star Wars, or superheroes. It's literally holding on to that spark of creativity and inspiration and pursuit of being expressive, basically. I don't know. I haven't talked about it in the podcast, but I do want to give credit to an anime that I've talked about. I'm planning on getting my tattoo for it, but Zom 100, for the sake of putting it on a recording, I'm hoping for a season 2, but it was so inspiring to me on trying to improve the way that I navigate through life. Because for those of you who haven't seen Zom 100, I highly recommend watching it. Not only is it just super entertaining and well made, it's so inspiring to the concept of it's called Zom 100 what's it called? Bucket list of the dead or whatever. Yeah. And it's about following your dreams on a very simple-minded like scale. Like it's not about like having this huge goal that you reach, but it's just like setting like little goals and then going after them, So whether it's like hilltop. Yeah, so he's like, you know what? I want to learn how to drive a motorcycle. And he's like, he does it, Or like for the sake, like in the show, he's like, I want one of my bucket list items is get dreads, and he does it. And it's like, but it's this whole concept of like, not giving up on pursuing things that you want, even if they're little things, big things, going after it. And it was so inspiring watching that because it kind of, for some reason, and it always happens like this, where it kind of mirrors, or it makes you, it like relates to you so deeply. It's like, it's weird that I'm watching this right now when I'm experiencing this kind of thing, Yeah. And that's why like Zom 100 is one of the major reasons why I moved. Is he kind of went through the same thing where like he was living in a city and he had done everything that he had moved there for. And he was like, I miss my family. I kind of want to see them, And he was like, you know what? I'm just going to, that's my next goal. I'm going to move back home. And he did it, And then I don't want to spoil anything, but like that wasn't the end of his goals, Once he reached that goal, he's like, okay, now that was nice. Now I want to set this new goal. And then he does that. And I'm kind of in the same boat where I'm like, I moved back home, but now what? Like, that's not necessarily the end. Like, that wasn't my main goal, is to move back home and live here forever. It was just, that was what I wanted to do then. And so I did it.
Yeah.
And so like, now I'm kind of in that same process of, all right, what's my next goal? What do I want to do? And then I'm, hopefully have the courage to just go for it, And it's largely in what's the word? It's connected to that anime. I don't know what the word is. It's largely in something to
in connection in.
There's a phrase. There's a phrase there. Okay. But in thanks. I don't know, but Zom 100 is, largely responsible for that feeling and that motivation. And I think that's kind of the thing that one of the reasons that inspired this conversation idea was how much of an impact something like an anime or a song or whatever like that can just like change your way of life or change your way of thinking about life,
Yeah.
And I just wanted to give credit to that because maybe that anime could do the same thing for someone else who's like working in a dead end job and not knowing what to do with their life, kind of thing.
I mean, the first like episode in general, the pilot for that show has got so much heart and it's so well thought out, and it's you can tell that the creator who made Zom 100, like they experienced some kind of extreme version of like what they're portraying.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't just come up, I don't think you can just come up with that kind of thing. Like They felt that human emotion and they were like, I want to express this, and in so doing hopefully help someone else who is going through this. Because that first episode gets dark.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But then there's the light.
Yeah.
At the end, where like literally everything changes.
Yeah. So. And that's also the beauty of that falls in line with our discussion, because a lot of the goals he sets, like he writes these bucket list items and then he reaches them and he's like, that wasn't really for me,
Yeah.
And that's what, kind of what we're talking about is like the understanding that like not everything is going to be exactly what you hoped for or be what you expected it to be. Mistakes are going to happen. Failures are going to happen. Mm-hmm. But just like trying is key.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think having our conversations this week is like what I'm trying to like give myself that hype up, you know? And so I was like, let's talk about it. Get hyped up. Because it's hard. We get down on ourselves, and I've been thinking about our conversations, and not to like get too personal. I don't want to get too personal. I want to be more of like a beacon of relativity for anyone listening. Whenever you're not working the job that you want or whatever, especially when we're at the age that we're at, and a lot of people our age are experiencing the same thing right now, where like it feels like life, like things feel bad, you know? Things right now don't feel the best for many people our age and people older or younger than us, but like, you know, it's tough. It's tough out there. And it's easy to like just feel let down by the world around us. Mm-hmm. But I want to say no. No, I'm in charge. I have the power. I get to say how my life is going to go. So I'm trying to get myself energized up. And I was like, I want to get Ethan energized up, get up, hyped up.
Yeah. Yeah. I know today was supposed to be really packed. I was supposed to go and do band practice today, and it kind of bummed me out because my friend, there was like, Atlanta had like Front Porch Fest or whatever it's called yesterday, where it's like everyone on the street, I think it was like MM Park, maybe, I can't remember, Gresham Park. Gresham Park. One of those parks over there, where like basically the whole neighborhood, just like everyone just goes to people's like front porches in their yards and kind of like drinks and has a party kind of thing. There's like little stuff. But my bandmate Gabby, she went over to that yesterday, and she texted me this morning, and she was like, I feel like I've got like, you know, something in my throat, and it's scratching and it doesn't feel good. She's our singer. So I was like, well, fuck, there goes the practice today. I was like, feel better and stuff. But I was like, whatever, we can just practice like another time. And she was like, dude, no, fuck. Like she was like, I don't want to keep like postponing practice. Like I want to do it. I want to set a date and then like do it. And then let's set a date to play, you know? And I'm like, good. That makes me feel better. But I was still kind of bummed that like we weren't going to get to play today. But doing this also helps because I didn't know if we were going to get to do this today, and I was hoping we would, but I didn't know. Yeah. But like, again, like setting the dates and like having specific goals in mind and having something to work towards is like, I think very crucial into like getting out of a funk or getting out of a mindset and working towards a better one. Because you can fall short of your goals. Like that's fine. We talked about that before. Like that's okay. That's human. Yeah. But having that deadline, almost having that this is it. Like I remember when me and Tom, like the first time that we played, when we played live in Feral Tones, I was like, he was like, let's set it. Let's do this on whatever date it was. And I was like, okay. And that kind of got us really nervous. Right. But then we immediately set another date. We were like, okay, let's do this. But just so you know, my mother-in-law, like her and Hayden are coming down in July or June or whenever it was. I was like, let's play these dates that we're getting ready to play, our first ones that we're playing. Let's play these dates with it in the back of our minds that these are just warm-up dates. These aren't really the dates, right? These are just what's going to get us one step closer to being better for when they come down, and then we play for someone who I really want to play for and like make proud. Like that's the date, right? Yeah. That's the gig that we're working towards. So all of a sudden, all the pressure from the other stuff subsides a little bit. And then once we get there, like we get closer to that date, we get like approached to do a feature night where we do a full set where it's like 30 minutes or whatever it is. And we're like, okay, so that's the new date. That's the new thing. And so the date that we built up in our heads comes down a little bit and just makes it easier and easier. And so like setting these like little goals, it helps.
I've never thought about that before.
Yeah, it helps the progression of things.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to think about how I can do that myself with my stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, the human condition, man. Inspire, create.
Yeah. Repeat.
Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, it's important. Like, I think the biggest thing that I am trying to tell myself right now that maybe other people are relating to is I'm trying to tell myself to stop being like, I don't want to be a talker. I want to be a doer, you know? And I think I've been in a, you get in a funk and you tell yourself like, I need to do this. I need to do that. I should do this. I should do that. But you get scared and you talk yourself out of it. And that's, I think maybe putting this out in the ether, I'm hoping will like encourage me. It's like, I said it now, I need to commit to it as doing, Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm energized. I'm ready to start doing.
Do it. Just do it. All right, everybody. Thank you again for watching or listening to another episode of the Born2BNerd Podcast. A little different format today, but it was a fun one, and I hope some of you guys took something from this conversation.
And feel free to add to it as well.
Yeah, always in the comments, in the review section. If you want to, give us some 5-star reviews, that'd be cool.
Where do you do that?
You do that in the like Apple Podcast or Spotify. Apple yeah, Spotify podcast.
Nice.
All of those where we are listed. Lance, you got anything coming up on the Born2BNerd YouTube channel? Any streams?
Ooh, Twitch? YouTube channel. I just have noticed like people multi-streaming, like streaming on Twitch and YouTube. So I've been thinking about doing the same thing because we do have, a subscriber base on YouTube that I'm sure like, I don't know, what the chances of them showing up for live streams are, but if I can reach some of them with a live stream, I think I'd like to do so. So I might be trying to multi-stream here soon, if not fully switch to YouTube. But I put so much work into the Twitch, I kind of want to keep it.
Yeah.
So maybe trying to multi-stream. Speaking of like the art and stuff, I've been considering just like plugging up my iPad to the live stream and just like doodling on live stream. So if anyone wants to kind of watch me progress, because I'm going to be pretty raw at the beginning of relearning how to do everything. So, but I think it'll be good to kind of take inspiration from requests or notes of artists that kind of want to join or whatever. So
sure.
Yeah, I might be doing that soon. That's about it.
Cool. As of now, I'm off this week, so I'm going to be doing recording another video for my Throttle Fox Moto Photo channel. So if you guys want to look around or look up the new video that's going to drop, hopefully this week, you can catch me there. Otherwise, we will get interrupted by my unhappy dog at the Amazon truck driving by. Other than that, guys, thanks for tuning in again, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah.
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 Bye.
Bye.